have to say, that's when I feel the most awkward. When we're just people and talking, it's fine.
We're live on Facebook. We have Beth Cytryn from BethCare. Stephanie?
Yep.
We're all set to go?
We're all set.
We're on in about a minute or two.
The weather is amazing. I think tomorrow the weather's going to be good again.
It's crazy.
We finally got July. That's what everyone's saying. Oh, I love July.
Time. Oh, some commercials.
Have your own headphones on?
They explained to me on the
Okay.
Here
we go.
With DelVecchio and Erickson, tackling the topics that life throws in.
Good hot afternoon.
Humid afternoon. It's so nice, though.
Humid, we'll take it. Summer finally arrived. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt DelVecchio. I specialize in free retirement home search and senior transition support. I'm here with my co-host, Stephanie Erickson, social worker and family caregiving expert. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello, Matt.
You know, we've got a very interesting show planned today. First up, do you want to make sure that you or your parents maintain their dignity as they age, especially if they have someone providing caregiving services for them? And so coming up, we'll be speaking with Beth Cytryn, a caregiver, about dignity and caregiving and what not to do if you're caregiving for someone. Should be very interesting.
Yeah, in the second half, I'm really looking forward to this. It's such an interesting topic. It's very unique. I certainly don't hear a lot about it, but we're going to be talking to a mother of a transgender teen and their journey that they've been through in the last, I don't know how many years. I guess we're going to find out, but I'm really looking forward to that.
Incredible journey. Very looking forward to that. And that's after the 4:30 news.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about teens, and Stephanie, you and I were talking off air about how, as parents, we try to adapt to their changing attitudes and maturity. And so got a phone call from my son today. He said, Dad, I want to plan for a ski trip, not this year, but next year. I'm saving up and everything. I want to go to Banff.
I like that he said he's saving up.
He's saving up. And he expects to pay this. And maybe it's a call to get my dad to chip in a little bit, you know. Yeah. But he's planning a year and a half in advance, and he wants to go to Banff and Jasper and all that. And then he hits me with, well, Dad, you understand that this is just for, like, my CJIP buddies, right? It's because we don't think the parents can keep up with us, you know. So
he's probably right.
He is probably right, unfortunately. But the bubble was burst right there. Okay, the kids are growing up.
I know your son's a bit older than my kids, 12 and 9. But I've been, you know, having a hard time with my daughter. Not that she's doing anything. She's an amazing, energetic, lovable, curious, hysterical girl. She's 12, so she is bouncing from yelling at me to then crying and hugging me to then saying I want to spend time with you to then going into her room, and I don't know what to do. I'm trying so hard to support her, to give her space, to, you know, let her have her freedom. It's so hard watching your kids, you know, become their own person and kind of like pulling back but still being present.
It's funny. I was talking to Philip, your husband, and he was saying the exact same thing about
Probably
you.
About me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he'll never figure me out.
All right. Well, shall we get into it?
Absolutely.
All right. You know, I think many people have found themselves in a caregiver role. A lot of the times, not by choice. And I think for all of us, if we aren't already doing it, we know one day we'll probably be a caregiver to one, maybe two, or many other loved ones.
Or we'll have someone caring for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, providing dignity in caregiving has actually become a hot topic. And so to talk more about this, we're so very pleased to have Beth Cytryn, caregiver and founder and owner of BethCare Senior Services. Beth, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. This is very exciting for me.
Pleasure to have you,
Beth.
Beth.
It's a great topic.
It is, you know, because I think we should start off right off the bat. Like, what do we mean by dignity in caregiving?
You know, it's funny, when Stephanie asked me to talk on this topic, the first thing I did was go to the dictionary to see what exactly is the definition of dignity. And the Webster Dictionary says it's the quality of being worthy of honor or respect. So it's very simple. It's everything that we all need, and it's everything that we all want. So if it's something that we need and want, it should be very easy to give.
And I think too, for dignity, I find that sometimes we only know what it is when we don't have it. You know, like that's when we notice that it doesn't exist. And I mean, being in residences and being around families a lot, I certainly see it when it's missing. I'm sure, Matt, you've seen it too, going around residences. And I just actually this week was with a family, and the gentleman needed a change. He had soiled himself and he needed to be changed during our interview. And when the caregivers took him into the bathroom, they left the door wide open and they had to fully undress him. And I was in the room. And it wasn't that it made me uncomfortable. My heart was breaking for this man. To me, that was, okay, there goes his dignity. So I guess that's kind of an example, huh, Beth?
Well, it's a perfect example. It's really an extreme, because just leaving the bathroom door open for anybody, a senior or anybody, is just wrong.
Unless you're a mother, and unfortunately, even when it's shut, my kids come in.
Yeah,
anyway, right?
but that's still in your private setting. That's your home. That's something, that's a dynamic that's been created within the family. But the bottom line is, for the individual that was being changed, or the individual that needed to be cleaned, the truth of the matter is he probably didn't have a choice, and he wasn't able to say, I need that bathroom door closed. So I think dignity is about people communicating and understanding what the other person's needs are. Sometimes we assume we know what somebody's needs are, but we have to communicate with them and find out what their needs are, and let them have a little bit of control and choice of what they need done. The bathroom is one example, but there's many.
That's Beth Cytryn talking to us about dignity and caregiving. I'm at DelVecchio here with Stephanie Erickson. You know, we're going to open up the lines right away, because I think there's a lot of caregivers out there that perhaps could provide us with some of their experience, and if particularly related to dignity and caregiving, whether you've been through it, and at the other side, perhaps you've been on the receiving end of caregiving, something might have happened, and how did you handle that situation, and what would you suggest for future, so we can all learn. So please feel free to call us at 514-790-0800, that's 514-790-0800, or text us at 514-800. Now, Beth, you're talking about communication here, and I think that is such a huge topic, because as a caregiver, whether it's someone that's being provided by a CLSC or a private caregiver, and in many cases it's the son, the daughter, a relative that's providing caregiving, we think we're doing the right things, but I think a lot of the times just simply asking the questions, getting their opinions, having that communication instead of assuming what they would want. Would that be correct?
Well, also, you know, communication is very important, but we have to think globally. There's a lot of individuals out there that need care that are not able to communicate what they need. So it's the caregiver's responsibility to read the signs, because that is a part of the communication. So they need to read the signs. They need to be mindful of what the individual is trying to say, whether through body or through verbal, you know, words that may not make sense. But also, if you're listening to someone and really watching them, you will understand what they're trying to communicate. And most important, you have to truly listen with your eyes, with your ears, and then you will understand what the individual will need.
And I guess even if a person cannot communicate, as you're saying, so maybe they're in a medical condition or some sort of cognitive impairment, they can't verbalize, or the family members aren't around in that particular moment to communicate on their behalf, we can still just, I guess, put ourselves in their shoes. So if there's someone, for example, in palliative care and perhaps non-communicative, they're or in a coma or something like that, there are still ways to provide dignified care by imagining, if I were in this situation, how would I want that nurse to approach me? So things like, I love it when I see when my clients are not responding or they're asleep, but the caregiver's talking to them, hi, Mr. Jones, I'm going to move your arm here, I'm going to do that, and speaking to them, even though there's no response, but still respecting there's a human being in front of me.
If you're proactive and you explain to the person what you are about to do to help them, there is no way that you're showing them a disrespect, because it's probably a task that definitely needs to be done. So you explain to them why you're doing it, what you're doing, and that within itself is showing them respect and dignity.
Yeah.
I think it's an important word, respect and dignity. Sometimes we'll make those assumptions, and you don't even realize it, but you are maybe doing some dignity breaches. Beth, I think one of the things that we said at the offset is some of the things that we do not or should not do from a caregiver's perspective, and a lot of times I think there's assumptions that we make. So we're going to cut out for a little traffic update, but I think we'd like to focus on what shouldn't we do in a caregiving role. But first, let's get an update from the CJD Traffic Center.
Is there air in here?
Medic.
So we had to switch that up there. You're okay with that, right?
I didn't know if you were going to just say something small because I was ready.
Okay.
I thought maybe you were just going to say something and then I was going to come in.
Yeah, I was going to go for one comment and then, okay, what's that comment going to be?
Yeah. And
throw it back. So we'll reverse. You want to take it out of traffic then?
Sure. No problem. And
I like that topic.
What shouldn't we do? Yeah.
Really important.
And I'd like to talk about, Matt, something I really think is important is, okay, what shouldn't we do? So Beth can give some examples of some things not to do. And maybe you can go to, so if as a family member we're seeing our caregiving team do this to these should-nots to people that we love, how do we advocate for them in balancing? Because I think family members get afraid that if they speak up and say this care is not what it's supposed to be, they're afraid that there's going to be retribution.
In a facility or something?
So a caregiving team not being a family member, meaning a senior residence or say one of Beth's caregivers as
That's
an example,
right?
right?
And the family
like
member happens to be there and you see a
so
caregiver.
How do we approach them?
How do you coach them or make them aware?
It's very touchy, Stephanie.
Why?
It's a very touchy subject because you're really just dealing with people. So staff is just people. So all facilities, if you see something going on in a facility and a caregiver is not closing the door every time she changes my father, you've got to bring it to the attention of the superiors, but it still just boils down to people because that person will start closing the door for a week and then stop again.
So, but I think it's a good point. Is it's very touchy. Because I think your answer is fantastic. So then, I'm
thinking the same thing. Your
as a daughter,
perfect.
As a daughter, would it be better for me to say to that caregiver directly?
I have that answer.
You know, so but let's. Okay. I think it's good because people want to know what do I do if
as a daughter. Do I approach the caregiver or do I? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
because that is, in my opinion, where it gets sensitive. So okay.
Yeah, and you're doing great. You really are.
Smooth.
The don'ts, like if you come back with one don't, we might come back to other don'ts.
I'm
right?
fine. I'm fine. I'm prepared for that.
So then, but let's make sure that we end off with. Oh,
the last point. Your last bullet.
The
right?
last.
For those of us who
support
someone at home,
exactly.
We need to for
end
the last 2 to 3
that.
minutes with that.
And with that.
Agreed.
Positive.
Okay. Also for if you wanted the key thing for a family member to remember when they.
That's what we're talking about. When we support, that's the last bullet. What are some things we can do to maintain someone's dignity? Because we want to end the story with people feeling like they have something to move forward with and apply. Yeah. So that's what we'll end with. That's Orla.
She's been in it. She's been in it for a while.
Oh, how nice! Someone just put in. Oh, how nice. Thank you, ladies, for protecting the dignity of our most vulnerable people. Listening to you now makes me realize that wonderful people are still out there.
Where is that?
I don't know. We just got a text.
That's nice.
I didn't get that.
That's why I'm here.
That's what it's all about. So,
I want to refresh.
Matt, when I come back in, can I say, I'll bring that text into it to just say and then go into the shoulds?
Should not?
The should nots? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's funny, I don't have that.
No?
Oh, I know why.
You're not on the right screen?
I'm in King Counters.
Okay. Okay, so I'll,
So we'll probably have about 10 minutes.
You shouldn't have said that.
Here we go.
Here we go. Cannot go wrong with Bob Dylan, ever. Bob
Dylan and dignity. Okay, yeah. It does go together.
You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Stephanie Erickson, family caregiving expert and social worker, here with Matt DelVecchio, who specializes in free retirement, home search, and senior transitions. Before we went out to traffic, we were speaking with Beth Cytryn. She's the founder and owner of BethCare Senior Services, and we've been talking about dignity and caregiving. Matt, you asked Beth when we came back to talk about the should nots, the things that we should not do to, I guess, break somebody's dignity, with the things that we should not do, the things we should avoid. But before we get to that, I just want to say something very positive. We had a nice text come in, someone thanking us ladies. I guess, Matt, somehow your voice was missed. I think they mean you too, Matt.
I didn't shave my legs today.
It's not that walk that you do in the red high heels,
right.
Whatever that walk is. Thank you, ladies, for protecting the dignity of our most vulnerable people. Listening to you now makes me realize that wonderful people are still out there. And I have to second that, Beth. I know Beth personally through her work, and she is amazing. So thank you, Beth, for protecting our seniors and others.
Thank you. Yes.
So now let's go back to what Matt was saying. What are the should nots? What should we not do? That's hard to say.
Okay, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people do is they label people. So right away they may see somebody in a wheelchair or walking hunched over. And we're not just talking about seniors here. We're talking about many people that need care. There's so many different areas. And labeling someone and assuming you know what their challenges are without giving them the benefit of the doubt, without really finding out to understand them, that's one of a very big error. And another thing is infantilizing. Treating someone like a child when they're 85, 95 years old is just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. So stay focused on person-centered care, and realizing that you need to get to know the individual to really care for them and understand who they are before you can just go and make assumptions.
It's a very good point. And, the texts keep coming in. And if you do want to text us, please text us at 514-800. That's Beth Cytryn, owner of, where are we going with this, Beth? BethCare Senior Services. And your conversation about dignity and caregiving has been excellent, and obviously some interest there. So 514-800 for text, or even call us at 514-790-0800. I'm going to read the very next text, which segues into one of our next questions, actually, Beth. Read dignity. My mom has been in 2 different residences in the past 5 years. My eyes have seen many injustices. A few staff lack empathy and require further training. Many times they don't even pull the curtain closed when undressing my mom. She shares a room with someone. Family members must be there often to see these things. Dignity goes out the window.
Oh, breaks my heart.
And I think this is a real text. It's one of the questions that we wanted to ask, Beth, was if you do see this, whether it's through a senior residence, whether it's through a professional caregiving service, or even a relative, how do we approach, if we take the senior residence example, what do we do? Do we approach the caregiver? Do we go to the manager? There's a bit of an injustice being done, particularly related to dignity, and we want to get this solved.
First of all, it's a very big, very, very big issue in many areas. I feel that approaching a caregiver can be very delicate because you may make things worse, and the person that will get the raw end of that deal will be the individual that the caregiver is taking care of.
Oh my God.
So I really feel that your approach should be with staff that is superior, that could bring this to the attention of the caregivers. And in a delicate way, we can remind the caregivers that we like the door closed. That being said, everything boils down to people. Everything boils down to individuals. And it's up to you as a child to assess who is actually taking care of your mother or father or loved one, and that you must approach them in the best way that you feel will be most effective, because if not, your parent will be the one to pay.
That was Beth Cytryn, caregiver and owner of BethCare Senior Services. This is Life Unrehearsed. If you want to give us your information, your story about caregiving and dignity, make sure to give us a call, 514-790-0800, or text us at 514-800. Now, Beth, I just want to quickly go to a personal note, because I know that you cared for your mom who had dementia, and that's what got you into this. So what did you learn about dignity in being the caregiver for your mother? What did your relationship with her as her caregiver teach you about dignified care?
Well, I think that did get a little more personal than I expected. But
sorry, Beth.
That's okay.
Want to move on? We don't have to answer it.
Fine.
Okay.
I think that my mom has always been there for me. I've never had an issue in my life where she wasn't. So when the cards were turned and I had to take care of her, it was just very simple. I just always saw her as a person, and I always respected the fact that she was always there for me, and now it was my turn. My mom did live in a senior facility, and I did see things that made me unhappy, but I addressed each situation at hand.
Okay.
And I try not to look at things globally and make things upset me. I try to stay focused on what the issue was at hand.
That's good advice.
Well, Beth, as the owner of a home care company and being responsible for training your caregivers, it's very comforting to hear your compassion about that. And we're going to go right to call, Stephanie. We've got a call coming in from Lucy in the West Island. And Lucy, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Oh my God. Oh. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, Lucy, I think that's a perfect example, and thank you for your call. And
I'm
Beth,
sorry for your friend's situation. That's
yes,
really
and you could see it being a common situation. The caregivers were used to doing something, all of a sudden now it becomes higher maintenance, if you will, and more work. And so, Beth, kind of what you were alluding to before, in those situations, what can Lucy's friend do to try to help this situation?
Well, this is a situation where I really believe the family really needs to bring this to higher staff and have a meeting with maybe there's a social worker in the facility, or there's a manager or a head nurse, and this needs to be addressed, because this is unacceptable to talk to anybody this way. A senior or anybody. This is
absolutely.
Not accepted.
And I would also, if that doesn't work within the residence, if it's a private residence, I would still go to the CLSC and ask for someone to be an advocate for you and help you within that private residence as well.
Social worker.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now, Beth, we were talking about some of the negative things about dignity and care. Give us some positives. What are things that people are doing right now where they are providing dignified care, and maybe they're not even recognizing that that's what they're doing? What are people doing?
Well, they're reaching out to people like me. You've got some great kids out there who just really want to make sure their families are their loved ones are being taken care of in the best way they can. So even though they may be in a senior facility, they reach out to organizations like myself that bring in special boutique type of services that cater one-on-one, and that's what a lot of seniors do need. They need that one-on-one attention.
And of course, you're talking senior residences. This is easily applicable at the home of the families as well.
This is applicable anywhere.
Yeah, and a lot of the adult children as well, things that I see them do that maybe they're not giving themselves credit for, but again, talking to their parent as they're providing the care, explaining what it is they're doing, including them in conversations and decisions, even if maybe they don't understand everything, but including them in those decisions, bringing in people that help them, all of that is good, and there's a lot of families out there that are providing really dignified care. It's not all negative.
No, they're doing their best, but sometimes it's okay to get advice of the professionals.
Yeah.
So, Beth, thank you very much. This was really informative and lots of interest. How can people get a hold of you, Beth?
Well, they can go on my website. It's BethCare. So the website is BethCare.com, or you can reach me at 514-824-4699.
Okay, thanks a lot, Beth, and we'll make sure to post that link on our Life Unrehearsed Facebook page. But now we're going to head out to the newsroom. Sorry about that. We had to get out.
That's all right. Yeah, we're going to do the teaser for you, Susan,
No.
but we're out of time. Fantastic job. You did really, really well.
So good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, one of your clients just wrote in.
One of my clients?
Max.
His clients out.
Wow. You were so good.
Like they say.
I had helped this her mom, and she's just saying thank you.
Hang on, let me get it all set up. So, Beth, I want to set up. Thank you.
Okay.
You're
I'm
great.
ready.
Do you feel good?
Yeah, fine. I don't even remember what I said.
Now you're going to get an adrenaline rush. Nice glass of wine now.
Good seeing you again.
Nice seeing you.
Okay, we're going to go here. So we have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Stephanie.
My pleasure, Beth. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay.
Have a good day, guys. All right.
You want to
See
come
that push? Like,
just closer, but slowly, just so I can make sure that you're not in the shot. Okay, so Matt, I don't know what you think about the shot. You want to take a
You
look?
want me to sit here?
Oh, this is why. This thing is not. I was like, what's going on? It's not.
Yeah, that'll. Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah, that should be good. Okay.
And I'll look at where you are.
You don't need headphones because we're not going to take.
And I don't go any closer?
No, you can. I think. Matt,
Let's
she's
see.
not
Keep
in, huh?
going. Keep going.
She's not in.
Yeah, you're not in. Okay, so we move on.
So I'm opening.
Susan, this is going to be. I've been looking forward to this one for a while.
Okay.
And
so,
God love you for what you've had to go through. You know, it's amazing.
In the journey.
So, Steph, you're going to open.
Yeah.
Quick banter.
No.
Not
really.
banter. I'm going to
Just
segue
gonna
into you.
segue in, yeah. Yeah, and how are we? Okay. Do you want me to mention that text, or should I
That would
just
be
pass
really
over?
nice of you.
Okay.
And it should have come from me.
Yeah.
I mean, I could, but it'd be great if it could come from you. It would be a nice little plug.
Well, I might get you back because that one text came in for me that was really nice weeks ago, and you never brought it up. You're like, oh, I'm going to bring it. You brought it up. I was like, Matt, someone just said, thank you, Stephanie. You've helped me. You never brought it up. Thanks a lot.
Oh, no. That's true. I remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't say it on
So
stage.
I may not bring it up. Let's see. St. Lambert,
Okay.
which residence is that?
I would just read it as is.
No, I'm
It's,
just asking you. I'm just curious.
they went into Résidence Soleil.
I just went to Argyle. It's I think it's public.
Yes, I put the lady there. No, it's private. Pardon me. They have a certain floors are public and certain are
That's the
private.
example I just gave where the door was open.
Pardon me?
That was. I should probably. Oh.
Okay. I hear you. They just got bought.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a big firing and stuff.
Probably for good reasons.
I'll tell you after. I know some of it. Nope, not yet.
How
Yeah.
All the way. Like you're eating it. Lift it up.
oh, I
You're gonna. The headphones are hanging on it. You might want to pull those off the mic.
tried. I didn't realize.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there you go. So if you get a collar,
Okay.
then you
so-
put those on.
But there won't be, you said. Yeah.
No.
Oh, no,
we're
that's
not
right.
gonna
No
take any
collars.
calls.
Yeah. You're opening, Steph?
Yeah. Just without wearing headphones, you're going to miss our opening song. You can't hear the music that plays, but that doesn't matter.
You could tell her the song you picked.
I picked "I'm Only Human" by Christina Perri.
A nice song.
In the second half, we have Pink. What About Us?
And she's a civil human rights
Oh,
advocate.
100%. But also the song is just about, anyways, being yourself. And
What about the people who are outside of the norm? What about us? I can see it that way.
Potatoes. Love that accent. Potatoes.
It's Orly again.
Mm-hmm.
She's on and off, right?
She had kids, so I think she took a break,
Oh,
and now
that's
she's
what it is. Okay.
big time into it now.
She's from South Africa.
So she's on right after this.
Okay, that's what it is. Neat. And you do this 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then
A lot of planning. 1 hour.
excited, yeah. Like 1 hour, but it's all the prep.
Yeah.
And the topics you have to research a little bit. You can't not
for
know.
sure.
You can't not know anything.
Well, we could not know anything, but it wouldn't be very good. So I think I'll say the text first, so that we don't lose momentum with the topic.
Okay.
I'll say the text, and then I'll do our intros. I'll say the text, and then I'll go into what I was going to say, and then you come back. Okay.
And then I'll give you a little segue right back to you.
Yeah.
How long have you been collaborating? You're so smooth together.
Well, this is 6
6
months.
6 months?
Yeah.
That's it? I thought it was like 6 years. You're so smooth.
You should have seen us the first couple weeks.
It's glorious to watch. You're so smooth and sincere, and we hate each other. We can't stand each other.
Does it show?
I'm so impressed. It's so smooth.
That dignity was a good topic. People are.
Yeah, I was surprised. Hey. Very good. All right, here we go.
Welcome back. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Stephanie Erickson, social worker and family caregiving expert, here with Matt DelVecchio, specialist in retirement home searches and senior transitions. Before we move on, I just want to mention, Matt, I don't know if you saw the text that came in.
Just saw it.
Obviously, one of your clients, she says, I think she, maybe it's a he. No, it's a she, because there's her name. I just moved my mom to a residence in St. Lambert and couldn't be happier. The staff is fantastic. Thanks, Matt, for your help. So obviously you found a place where they were giving dignified care. So awesome.
That's right, and that's from Lori. Lori, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
That's great. Now, we hear about transgender individuals and how hard it can be for them to be living, him or her, to be living inside a body that doesn't match how they feel. Their exterior genitalia, I guess you could say, doesn't match how they feel inside, and it just must be so hard for those people. And when I think about being a teenager and all of the angst that comes with being a teen anyway, and then you throw that on top of it, oh my God, it must be so hard.
It's I can't imagine. You know, I think the conversation, even just us having this type of conversation on transgender teens, 5-10 years ago wasn't even on the radar, right? We weren't even talking about it. And that kind of transitioned into, as a parent, well, I can't see that happen. I can't imagine it. That's only happens to others. Yeah. And now with all the media attention, the conversation as a parent is, what would I do if one of my children was a transgender teen?
Yeah.
And that's why we're so happy for our guest today.
I know, I'm really happy. And you know, in our family, Matt, what is exciting for me about this topic is this is in my family as well.
Really?
Yeah, I have a nephew, and he's transgender, and I'm really excited to have another parent in here. I mean, I'm not a parent, but just to talk about this topic. I haven't talked to him directly about his experience, so I'm happy to have in studio with us today Susan, and she's a mother of a transgender teen. We're calling her Susan, but actually that's not her name. So that tells you something already about society's acceptance of this. She's asked to have some anonymity. So welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for inviting me.
We're not so far in society if you feel like you need to not be known. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate. I mean, every case is different, of course. In our case, comments were made, and they were a little difficult for us to swallow. And my child, we kind of moved out of the area, and we started over, and she chose another school, and therefore she's not out in that school, and therefore I myself am not always out in every situation. So it kind of varies from situation to situation. And it is a personal topic because it's a little personal to tell the world basically what's in your pants.
Yeah. And you know, it's we want to hear so much more about this incredible journey, but just for clarification purposes, let's back it up a little bit. You say your daughter. So was your daughter a daughter at birth, or what was the situation?
Well, at birth, like all babies, we see them, they're born, we see them naked, and based on their genitalia, we assign them as a boy or as a girl. So we assign them. So my child at birth, well, based on their anatomy, was assigned boy.
Right, so it was a boy, son.
At birth, yes.
Okay, and then when, Susan, did your daughter start to verbalize to you, or perhaps it was just your observations as a very in tune and obviously empathic and amazing connected mother, clearly with the way that you're responding to this, when was it that you all started to realize that the gender that she was born, or not the gender, I don't know, how do I say it? The gender that she was born with was not really who she is, matching what's in her brain. When did that happen? Around what age?
Well, I mean, early on. So basically, my child was the third child, and the third child, I had two girls, and my third child was a boy. So early on, we'd offer the boy Spider-Man and what is typically stereotyped as a boy
Cars,
toy.
Trucks,
right.
Yeah.
Well, there was no interest. And I mean no interest. Even like to unwrap the little car from the wrapper. No interest. But, you know, like everyone would say, well, that's so funny because this kid has two sisters and this kid is in tune with his feminine side. And we would laugh it off. But it went on. And I think when my child was maybe under 5, maybe around 3.5, 4, said to me, "I'm a girl."
How interesting.
I
that
said
young.
no. But I said no. No.
Right.
Was that more of a denial, or was it just trying to steer him in the right direction?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. First of all, not understanding what's going on. How can a child say this? How can my boy say I'm a girl? So there's confusion, and there's being unaware. I mean, I'm uninformed that children can like change their gender. I didn't understand. And then of course I did what people would kind of say, well, take away the girl stuff and bring in more boy stuff. I mean, it sounds so silly now that I'm saying it, because this wasn't 20 years ago. I mean, my child is an adolescent, so this occurred less than a decade ago. And I would say I would just try to give more boy things and stereotypically boy things, and that didn't work. But you're just perplexed. So when you're perplexed, you tend to act sometimes. I think now when I look back, I think that's a silly way of acting, but I was perplexed.
Yeah. You're listening to Susan. She's the mother of a transgender teen. We're so pleased that you're in studio. So you're talking about, being confused, being perplexed as your daughter was saying, I'm a girl. But I think you're being pretty hard on yourself, because I don't think many of us would expect that. And kids ask questions too. It's like, well, what makes me a boy? What makes me a girl? I mean, that's not an odd question to ask. So now, as your daughter's getting older, when was it that it clicked for you? Okay, this is more than just a learning that she's going through. This is really about an identification.
Oh yes, this was. I mean, it was persistent. It was consistent. It was often. It was all the time. I mean, she did suppress. I mean, because I would say no, and people around would laugh. And at a certain age, like around the age of 6, 7, it's not as funny anymore. When they're in school, it's not funny. You can laugh it off when you're in preschool. But now people are not laughing, they're actually mocking. So the child would start to notice and would start to suppress. And I felt my child wasn't as well and wasn't themselves. And I would question the pediatrician every year. And there was one year, I think when my child was 8, my pediatrician said, you know what, maybe at this point you've been bringing this up, you should maybe consult with this doctor. So there's a doctor that helps us out and explains everything. I remember in my case, we were in the waiting room and my child said, so I'm going to see this doctor. Does the doctor have this machine where I can walk in as a boy and come out as a girl?
Oh my God. Oh, that breaks my heart.
You're listening to Susan, a mother of a transgender teen now, your daughter. But what's I find quite interesting here is we think of it as a teenage issue, and I can't imagine as a teenager, but this is a little earlier. And was there a point in time, because you know now you're 8, 9, 10 years old, and your daughter is now going to start entering the teen years. As a mother, I would love to hear how you felt emotionally, because you know this road ahead for her is not going to be that easy.
Yeah, but first we're going to have to head over to the CJD Traffic Center, and then we're going to get back to that. Did you not see the time?
That's the hardest road, the teen. It's hard. It's very hard. It's very hard.
What did you just say? Oh, it's, you know what it is? It's because my headphones are cutting in and out. It's like so I'm hoping that it's not my mic, but the headphones are good. You didn't see the time?
And was I going up the traffic? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm supposed to be coming back in. So what was it that you asked?
Reaction. Well,
The reaction of the mom.
The adolescence, and you haven't hit the adolescence years. You know what's coming, right?
So
I'm in it. 15.
She's 15.
So we have to. The next section is probably going to only be about 7 minutes, right? Not at the most.
Oh,
not even.
No, we're going to be 5, 6.
So we want to get to creative kids. So maybe when you say my reaction as a mother, Matt asked you about what it was like for you as a mother after you met with this doctor and you realized that this was more about,
he put me in touch with other parents, and then
we can kind of start talking about, so what are some of the issues people come across, but there's not going to be a lot of time, just so you know. So try and condense your answers if we can, so we can get to the creative kids a bit more. Sorry,
Yeah.
Susan.
It's fine.
Yeah, it just flies by.
Yeah. Don't say time's up.
Time's up.
Remember?
Oh yeah. Our time is up. We didn't do it in the first one. We can't do it in the second. We get they do air checks, so they kind of critique our show a bit. So that will be a critique right now that I didn't go into traffic, or we went into traffic. I'd like to make a little comment about that. We're so entrenched in the conversation, blew right through traffic.
Yeah. So then
such a good topic. So maybe you want me to make that.
Well, I can say it for you. Okay. You want me to just say it for you and then just go into the?
I would prefer to say it because it's sort of acknowledging it.
Okay. Okay.
And then you jump in right after. So Matt.
Well, you're going to say I was so entrenched that I asked this question. Yeah, and then I can say, yeah, thank God I was here to save you now anyways. But no, then we have to acknowledge that we made a mistake. We're not allowed. Remember when Matthew said we're not allowed to do that? My gut tells me that you're right, is to make a joke about it. But Matthew told us to never do that.
Let's go for it.
Okay. I'm fine
I have
with
a quick little one.
I'm fine with it.
It'll be more of the topic is so entrenched in the topic, so interesting.
Yeah.
And they can't see my facial expression, but maybe I was also facially reacting. I took off my glasses, and,
Yeah, I saw that. That definitely. Yeah, and we got your back, by the way, if ever it does get emotional and stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm okay now. Yeah. It's quite a journey.
Yeah. No, but good for you. So proud of you just to be here and talk about it.
Yeah. I hope we can get you or some of your colleagues onto my other show. I mean, it would just be.
We probably will. We will be able to. We have a meeting once a month, and I'll be able to face-to-face maybe bring it up
I would be happy to come and talk about what people are comfortable with.
Anyone coming? Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of crying.
Just okay.
Yeah.
If you need me to come in and talk to people and they want to meet me in advance,
yeah,
Chris and I would be happy. And you can always refer them to my stuff about anxiety. Chris's dad.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm going to start. I'll make a little comment. Is that what you want? And then I'll throw it over to you? Or how did you want to do it?
Because you're coming back from traffic.
I was going to come back and then. Well, then you come back because that's going to be weird.
And then I'll throw it right
Just
back
come
to
back.
you.
Just come back.
And I'll throw it back to you, and you
Okay.
can ask the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to be weird for the flow. I'll talk to you about it after.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
I'll
care.
throw it back into your court flow.
I could care less. Doesn't matter to me, the ins and outs. Ins and outs don't matter.
It's so nice to be so smooth. Like, I'm impressed. This is not your career. You didn't train in radio and media. This is your second thing. I'm so impressed.
Or fifth. Or sixth thing.
To their credit, they're not making us swim. They're
Here we
really,
go.
they're genuinely concerned about making us better. Here we go. Stephanie, if you only had your mic on and everyone could have heard you sing and dance to such a little pink, what about us?
I love her. I love her. Love her.
You know, I got so caught up in our conversations. I mean, I'm so entrenched, such an interesting topic, and thanks for picking up for the traffic. Yeah, appreciate it.
You're
You
welcome.
got a traffic
Well,
update. It's important on CJD to get the regular updates.
Yeah, you're listening to Life Unrehearsed. Stephanie Erickson here with Matt DelVecchio, and in studio we have with us Susan, a mom of a transgender teen. And Matt, you were just saying how courageous she is for coming in, and it's really impressive that you're bringing this out in the open and we're talking about it, because I don't think that a lot of voices are heard in this area. And one of the things, Matt, that you asked right before we went to traffic is about your own personal emotional experiences. And we're focusing on your daughter, but Matt was asking you, what has this been like for you personally?
Well, every journey is different, right? So my journey, I didn't understand. I didn't know this existed. So I did a lot of research. I threw myself in the topic. I asked questions to the doctor. I had many appointments, and I tried to see, is this real? So my journey was a lot of research. And then I needed to speak to other parents. Well, where do you go?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's not when you Google. This is not.
There
like
are
18
no other
groups
parents.
that come
Like,
up. Yeah.
there's no group.
Yeah.
The doctor put me in touch with other parents, and we actually co-founded. We founded together a group of gender creative kids here in Montreal, and I needed to exchange with the other parents.
Absolutely.
I had questions. Is this real? Is this a phase? And that for me helped me understand that this was a real journey, and I had to learn a lot. I had to learn that gender is not determined by one's anatomy. It's determined by one's brain. So for me, there was a lot of learning, and then I had to educate my surrounding.
Yeah.
So that was part of my process and part of my journey.
Yeah.
This is Life Unrehearsed. You're listening to a wonderful mom of a transgender teen. And thank you for being with us and being so open and transparent with us. Because I think you touched on something there about the brain, but I think we need to make it clear, this isn't a mental health issue. So could you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think it gets a gray
That's a
zone.
really good point, Matt.
It's not it's not an illness. It's not a mental health issue. I'm so glad you brought that up, because people do ask me, like, how can this be fixed? Well, there's nothing to fix. And that too is something to understand. There's nothing to fix. It's just a way of being. So their brain, the person who's transgender, their brain is what has determined their gender, and that's it. So it's internal. It's an internal feeling. So once we understand that, we can move on. If we don't understand that, then we're not moving on and supporting the child. And the main thing we need to do is to support the child, because there's no other intervention besides hormone intervention should the child choose to follow through with that.
That's right. That's right. That's Susan. She's a mother of a transgender teen. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. Susan, when you're talking about that the brain is determining that, so to me it's kind of like argument is probably not the right word, but it's the thing that the gay community will say too is, well, this is how I was born. It's nothing that I chose to be. So why is it that it seems like in that area people have been more accepting and there's been more progress than with transgender? Can I make that connection? Or
Society, yes, you can. Yes. I mean, society evolves at its own rate, right? Society is evolving. Laws help us with this. So laws have helped us make it that in the Charter of Rights now we can't discriminate based on one's gender identity. So laws help our cause, the situation become understood. So that's what helps society evolve, and the laws have just freshly been put into action, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons.
Now, Susan, you know, you talked about when you're doing research as a parent, and you didn't ask for this. You're kind of thrown into this, and now you do search. A few years ago, the search might have been a lot more difficult. There's more and more information, but I think what is so important, and you've expressed to us, is the personal connection with other parents in your group. So could you tell us a little bit more about Gender Creative Kids, and how did that get started?
Yes, so we're very young. We're 4 years old. We started in 2013, a group of parents, and we co-founded this support group where we have support, we have education, and advocacy. So we have once a month meetings for parents, and we also support the child, the adolescent, or even the young adult. And so we have meetings at the same facility once a month. And that's where exchanges occur. New parents come in with emotions. Parents who have a little bit of experience come in and share their experiences. And that, for me, has been the biggest resource.
Yeah, so there must be a lot of healing there too for people, because you're around like-minded people who have gone through the same experience, and there's a lot of healing when you're able to not only share your own story but also help others. Thank you so much, Susan, for coming in. What is the website for Gender Creative Kids, or how do people get a hold of it?
It's Montreal-based, so it's gendercreativekids.ca, and you can write to us at info@gendercreativekids.ca.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for being so strong. And if you've got to be strong, can't imagine about your daughter being strong. So wish her all the best of strength.
She's welcome here anytime.
Absolutely. Now, join us next week as we talk with Rosemary Steinberg. She's an ombudsman from the Jewish General Hospital, and we'll also welcome back our therapist, Sandra Reich, to discuss screen time and kids. Thank you so much for listening to Life Unrehearsed. You can catch us every Sunday at 4 o'clock.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone wrote in and said, I know Susan, she's amazing and dealing with a very difficult situation, has become such an advocate from Susan. So we have to, can we take the photo out, because the next
we gotta let them
women
in.
are coming in. We need to get ourselves out. Thank you, David.
Rachel, Susan, you're amazing. You're amazing. Can't imagine. Okay.
Don't forget your tripod this time, Matt. Let me take the waters. Here you go. I'm gonna open the door for you. That was good, the way we
Thank you.
we got out. When I just said thank you, blah, blah.
Throw it in there.
Throw
Bing,
it
bang,
in, and
boom.
then boom.
Yeah.
You could go out.
That's what I should have done on the traffic one. It flies so by quick.
I know, especially that second half.
That was cool. That was cool.
You did great.
You were really, really good.
Okay, I guess we got to finish. Bye-bye.